Alrighty, I'm going to show you essentially how I use my budgeting app called YNAB or YNAB for short, to basically end out the month and then budget for the next month. And so this is probably the most involved process of my kind of budgeting routine. It only happens essentially once a month. The rest of my monthly routine is actually relatively quick and doesn't take more, than maybe a few minutes or seconds even, whenever I need to peek in and do some budgeting stuff. And so, alrighty, where to start? So maybe high level, what we're doing is I'm trying to basically close out the month. And to close out the month for me, that means reconciling all my accounts, accounts here. So checking, savings, credit cards. And so when I say reconcile, that basically means that any transaction that happened on any of those accounts throughout the month is essentially recorded and accounted for. So one, I'm confirming that. And then two, I'm looking at all my budget categories and I'm making sure that there's nothing negative before moving on, to the next round. I'm also looking at any transactions that need to be categorized or tweaked for any reason. So that's kind of, I think, part of the reconciling process. And so one thing that you'll note is YNAB automatically essentially pulls in these transactions from my bank account, so I don't have to manually add them. Although when I first started YNAB, and for actually many, many, many years, I would actually manually add transactions as they happened, just as a good habit. But my budgeting right now is in a good spot, so I basically just let it automatically import, and then I'll kind of do what I need, once they're automatically imported. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is essentially look at all these transactions that I have not approved, and approve them or categorize them. So you'll see a lot of stuff needs to be categorized, and so I'll go ahead and start doing that right now. So for Amazon, the nice thing about YNAB is if I click into Amazon and then go into this info section, it has a direct link to my Amazon order history. And then this allows me to basically an easy way to see what I bought. So this specific Amazon transaction was $27.05, and so I'll basically look for the invoice that says $27.05, and I'll click in that, and then I'll see that it basically is a tripod that I ordered. And so I know this category is going to go under pickleball equipment. So this is for me to record pickleball games and matches for analysis later. So I'll approve that. And then this next one is 877. So I'll go and look for the 877 transaction or order, which is right here. This is for a water pressure gauge for my lawn. And so I will categorize this as yard maintenance right here, and then click approve. 987 is the next Amazon transaction, which is this one, and this is also for yard maintenance. Well, actually, that one, this is actually a good example. So that one I did buy originally for yard maintenance, but I'm actually returning it because it wasn't the right one. So I have a category for things that need to be reimbursed, so I'm going to put that there. And then 5238 is the next Amazon amount. And so I replaced that one with this one, actually. So this one will go directly into yard maintenance. And you'll notice yard maintenance is definitely in the red. So a lot of yard stuff unexpectedly this month. And so then I'm going to look at these other ones. Some of these are automatically categorized when they're pulled in based on just historical record, and so I'm just going to confirm that they're accurate. So Sam's Club gas, this is right. Netflix, Fun Money, yes. Pickleball Kingdom, a tournament entry fee, this is right. Sign Up Genius, I'm going to put it in the generosity category because this is for a friend to help her out. I'm going to approve that. Yellow Table, I go there every Friday for a baked good, and I classified it under as Fun Money. And then here's another. So this is an Amazon inflow. So this is actually an Amazon return that I know that I had. And so I know that that's going to be in the to be reimbursed. The original transaction was categorized there, so I'm going to put that there. Venmo, $20. What was this for? Oh, yeah, this was to pay back a friend who bought food for me. So food, discount tire, reimbursed. Yes, this is right. Airbnb, income. Yes. Health insurance. Yes. And then this one, this Marisol one, to goods and services. This is actually my Airbnb cleaners. And I have this actually as a scheduled transaction that automatically just gets added at the end of the month, as a reminder for me to basically look at how much I paid, or how much I need to pay the cleaners, for this month. And so I'm going to do that right now. Well, I won't do that right now, but generally, let's just say it's maybe $1,000 a month. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So that scheduled transaction is essentially my reminder, my cue, to one, look up how much I owe my cleaners, and then I immediately then pay them once I've calculated that. So it is kind of a reminder. And so, yeah, all of these now look good. So I'm just going to highlight them all, and then I'm going to come down here and click approve. And then that's perfect. So now that I've got all of those approved, what I do at the end of the month is I go to each of my accounts, and then I'm going to reconcile them by clicking on this button right here. So I'm going to click reconcile, and then it's going to tell me basically that the bank balance that it detects is the exact same as the YNAB balance that I have. And so this is exactly what we're looking for. So everything looks good. I'm going to click on looks good. And so sometimes it's off. And so when it's off, that's when I'll dive in and I'll figure out, okay, which transaction is missing, and then I'll add it in to make sure that both YNAB and then my bank account is accurate. And to me, this is actually an important step in budgeting, because this gives you confidence that the numbers that you look at in YNAB are actually accurate. Because if you don't do this step and you just track your money, the numbers in YNAB, over time, you could actually drift from what you have in your bank account. If you happen to miss a transaction or something weird happens. And so by reconciling every month, this is giving me confidence that my bank matches YNAB, and so I can essentially rely on YNAB and not have to worry if the numbers that I see in YNAB are worth and trustworthy. So yeah, this is an important step. So I'll basically go through all of my different accounts and click on reconcile and just make sure that this number is right. And again, if it's not, which it's really not, then I'll kind of troubleshoot and figure out which transaction is missing. And then, yeah, so all of these are looking good. And so you'll notice that, YNAB, when I reconcile, so this one is saying your balances are off, which is the total of your pending transactions. Okay, and so so it's basically saying that these transactions need to be added, but I'm just going to go ahead and click on reconcile now. And so you'll notice that when I reconcile, it basically hides those transactions. And so then that also kind of makes, when you come and you look at each account, it's a little bit cleaner, because it's hiding the reconciled transactions. But you can always look at them if you want by clicking this show reconciled transactions button here. But I always typically hide it to make the transaction log a little bit cleaner. Okay, so after I've done that, then so this gives me confidence then that my numbers in YNAB are accurate, and then now I can go to my actual budget here, and then essentially reconcile my budget numbers. And what I'm doing here is I'm looking for categories specifically that have negative amounts. And so this one, I just created this one so I'm just moving it to alphabetize. So you'll notice that I have, different categories, overarching categories for all my stuff. And so I'm just going to go through all of these and see. So in electronics, I overspent by $14.81, and so this is actually one of the big reasons I love YNAB, and why I would say most people, when they're budgeting, I would say they're not actually budgeting in a effective way, because they're not doing the step that I'm showing you right here. And that is, if you overspend in a category, you actually have to find money somewhere else to compensate for that. Most of the time, and even me, when I first started budgeting, I would say I was doing more expense tracking. And so I would, have all of these categories and I would see how much I was spending, but let's say, I overspent $28 in food. I would just mentally say, oh, I overspent that much, so let me try to compensate, next month and spend a little bit less. But realistically, that never happened. And so if you're only basically tracking expenses, but you're not actually moving money around to compensate, then I think that's where you're getting into trouble. And this is why I like YNAB, because YNAB essentially forces you to compensate for any overspending. So this is the next part of my kind of monthly process is I'm gonna move money around to make sure that all my categories are not zero. So in electronics, I'm just gonna go ahead and cover this overspending with money that I have up here and ready to assign. So I'm just gonna do that. So that's gonna zero out that category. Same thing with food. I still have money up here from ready to assign, so I'm gonna do that. And then I'm going to keep scrolling down. Personal development, overspent a little bit, so same thing. Scrolling down. Health insurance. Okay. The reason I overspent here was because my health insurance essentially hit twice in 1 month as opposed to once, each month. So I'm actually okay with this because I know that what I'm about to do next is I'm going to be putting money, this amount of money actually in to essentially cover the next month. So you'll notice that essentially I already had money to cover, and then this amount right here is actually supposed to be for October. And so when I do October's budget, I'll actually put money there. So I'm actually going to leave that as is. And then scrolling down, anything else, zero. Yes, yard maintenance, definitely way in the negative. So not that you really care, but I am trying to essentially resurrect my yard, which is completely dead. And so I have spent way more money than I have wanted to on it, but I was essentially pot committed. And so I, went all in and spent a little bit more money to make sure that I give it my best shot to resurrect my lawn. And so I spent a lot of money this month. So I essentially need to compensate for that amount of money and figure out where in my budget can I pull $635 from. The good news is, because I consider yard maintenance part of my Airbnb, I do have a buffer here that I've saved over time of $3,200. And I think that's a valid use, of that buffer money, because it's kind of designed to be an emergency fund, if you will. So I'm going to cover all of that overspending with my Airbnb, buffer, my short-term rental buffer. And then over time, I'm essentially going to try to rebuild this back to $3,200, which is what I like to have as a buffer. And then so everything else is either zero or above zero, which is great, with the exception of this. But I already kind of explained that. But just for the sake of this, I'm going to go ahead and still cover overspending here. And then I have 2877 here ready to assign still. So if you have any money up here, typically, what you want to do is get this to zero. So I'm just going to assign this to I have a surplus category. So I'm just going to assign it there and then click assign. Okay, so this is basically now what I would say a fully reconciled monthly budget. So this is essentially the end of what I would do to close out a month. And so yeah, that includes essentially making sure all transactions are categorized, all bank accounts are reconciled, and then all of my budget categories are at 0 or positive. So once I've gotten my budget to this point, I feel comfortable then moving into October, and then I will budget out October. So that's actually what I'm going to do right now, just as an example. So what I'm not going to do, so I'm not going to do my short-term categories because that is separate process. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to select all of these categories with the exception of short-term rental, and then I'm going to click, well actually I'm going to undo the credit card payments as well, because that actually happens automatically with YNAB. So all of the categories that I have kind of created myself and that are kind of personal and not Airbnb related, I'm going to then click on this underfunded category. And that will automatically essentially, this is kind of more of a YNAB thing. This will, because essentially each of my categories I've kind of already set a goal. So for adventure, I've already set a target here of $50. And so that kind of underfunded button knows that I set a $50 target here. So it's going to budget in $50. So this is just kind of a quick way for me to do, my budget every month. By setting up these, different targets for all of my categories. And so I definitely know that this is wrong, and this is way too much. And so we'll kind of figure out why that is as we get down here. But what I'll do is then I'll basically just kind of come and look at all of these categories and the amounts and just make sure that I feel good about them. I did recently create this electronics category, and so and it doesn't have a target, so I'm going to go ahead and create a target, and just arbitrarily I'm going to say I'm going to, save $20 a month to it, and then each month set another $20. So I'm going to click on Save Target, and then I could manually type in $20 here. Or I could come down here and click on the underfunded button, and it knows that the target is $20 and it'll automatically fill in $20. And then, all of this other stuff I'm looking, and it looks, actually, you know what? So I originally kind of looped in the electronics category into this household and personal, and I just recently decided I wanted it split. So what I can actually do is change this to 80, save this, and then I can change that to 20, take out 20, so this is 80, and then the other 20 that I was budgeting here, I actually put up here. So that's good. And then I just got an electric bike, and realistically I probably have expenses that need to go with that. But it's an electric bike, and it's one that should not need a ton of expenses, so I'm just going to say $10 a month, hopefully, is all I need. So again, click on underfunded. It's going to budget $10. Alrighty, looking. All these other things look good so far. Okay, yeah, so budget next month, it's putting $2,800 here, and I know that that's actually not valid, and so I'm going to delete that. It's putting that there because I have some upcoming transactions here that are basically totaling that amount that I actually am not going to do, and so that's why I know that I can remove that, and so then this number looks more appropriate. And then okay, all of these look good so far. Okay, and then we can skip the Airbnb stuff, and then all of these subscriptions Yes, feel good to me. Okay, but basically, I have budgeted $2,500 worth of stuff, and so I'm in the negative. And so the question is, where does this money come from? It's a weird question because at least right now, as I am showing you this, I'm in the middle of a sabbatical, so I'm actually between jobs and I am making zero money. So where's that money coming from? So that money has been coming from this surplus category, which you'll see right here is at $1,800 right now. And so I'll go ahead and send, I'll go ahead and say fix this, and I'll unassign money from surplus. Well, it's weird. I need to figure out why. I think it'll let me if I go backwards. Yeah. I don't know why it won't let you do it from the current month. But anyway, I'm going to take basically all of surplus. And so now it's basically saying I'm $600 short. So now, similar to kind of earlier with a negative category, like YNAB is essentially forcing me to figure out where this money is coming from. So now I have to make a decision of, okay, where am I willing to sacrifice some money to kind of cover this amount? And so at this point in time, I would basically look through all of my different categories and figure out where I could get that amount of money. So just for the sake of this video, I feel comfortable, taking $50 out of the adventure category. So I'll do adventure, click OK. So now we're getting a little bit closer. Car maintenance, I could, I don't foresee expecting. So yeah, let's say I'll take $80, from, I'll move $80 from this category there. So that clothes, I think I want to keep saving clothes. Electronics, I just created. Food, I want to keep. Gas, keep. Sports, so there's a little bit of extra. Do I think I'm going to be spending some money in sports? I think so, yes, because I need to buy some new trail shoes, so I don't want to take money from that. Fun money probably has more money that I'm going to be using anytime soon, so I'm willing to spend, move $50 up there. Generosity, I don't want to touch. Health and wellness has actually, I think, more money than I really need, but also it's designed for, emergency stuff, so maybe I don't want to touch that. Home expenses probably has enough, so I'm willing to put $100 from home expenses. So we kind of almost cut it in half. Household and personal, I do believe this number is actually probably more than it needs to be, so I'll take 100 out of that. Electric one, personal development, software, I feel like those are fine. Vacation, I'm taking a couple trips in the next month, and I don't want to have to stress if I have money or not for it, so I'm going to leave this vacation category untouched. Car insurance needs to be untouched. Basically all of these bills need to be untouched because they're essentially, what did I do? I don't know what I did. These are essentially the exact amounts that I need to pay those bills. Pickleball is definitely more discretionary, so I might have some money. Oh, court fees. I have not needed these a ton, so I think I'm willing to shoot $75 over from that. Equipment, I just bought a new paddle, and so this feels like it's more than I need. So yeah, I'm willing to put $50 towards ready to assign, and then another $87 left. Tournaments, yeah, well, tournaments can be expensive, but I don't foresee me having that much worth of tournaments through the rest of the year, so sure, let's let's cover the rest of this with tournaments. Boom. Alrighty, so we got this down to 0. Okay, so now, I feel good. So I've essentially budgeted my entire October. And this is something that I would say is abnormal, but actually really, really helpful to basically budget a month in advance. And so at least when I was, making a consistent income, I was essentially a month ahead. So whenever I budgeted, at the first of the month, I already had all of the money saved from the previous month to budget the entire month at once. And so this is essentially the method of breaking the paycheck to paycheck cycle. So, and so I've kind of continued this in the sabbatical season. But I would say most people, when they're starting out, they would budget. The way that YNAB has you budget is you would essentially get your paycheck, and with that paycheck, you would put it into the ready to assign bucket up here at the top. And then you would budget that amount that you got from your paycheck into your categories. And essentially, basically budgeting only money that you actually got in the bank. And then over time, ideally, you would be able to save enough little by little that you could budget, a month in advance, kind of like I showed you here. And then that just brings you a lot more confidence because you don't care then what dates the bills come. You know that from the very first of the month, you have all of the money that you need. And so yeah, basically that is my monthly reconciling process, to get ready for the next month. And so if you have any questions, about it, holler at me.